Welcome to Sterling Visionary Voices, the podcast dedicated to bringing you diverse, innovative leadership insights and actionable strategies for success. Join hosts Laura McNeil and Bob Medeiros as they explore the art and science of role model leadership through thought-provoking conversations with real professionals. Whether you're a seasoned leader or aspiring to excellence, Sterling Visionary Voices is your guide to navigating the complexities of your leadership journey.
Lee Iacocca transformed the focus of Chrysler to make it a more efficient and effective automotive manufacturer in 1979. He accomplished this through engagement with the government in securing a sizable loan, deepening his engagement with key suppliers and partners by emphasizing the fact that they had interest and a significant amount of skin in the game if Chrysler survived. He knew he needed to source their creative insights. And lastly, perhaps more interestingly, Lee Iacocca engaged differently with the Chrysler workforce. He introduced shared ownership by valuing and incentivizing grassroots decisions. He was deliberately determined to drive an increased profitability, and he knew he could only do these things by engaging differently with the people that could. With us today is Mauricio Lorenzetti. Mauricio is a former director in Fintech. He was a host of global technology hackathons, and now he's the founder and CEO of Atlas. Mauricio is with us today to talk to us about driving higher profitability through engagement, employee engagement. Welcome, Mauricio. Wondering if you could start by providing some background on Atlas and then give us your perspective on some key metrics, emerging trends for employee engagement.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for the opportunity. Atlas was born out of my own experience, both helping people make decisions in their careers. I don't know why, but my friends, my brother, some colleagues, and even a couple of bosses came to me to ask to talk about challenges and decisions they had to make in their careers. And that happened throughout my life. In 2018, I became a member of Endeavor. And as part of that membership and that engagement, I started mentoring startups. And one thing led to the other, and we decided to create an application, create a product to help people manage their careers and to help entrepreneurs and company owners and managers manage their departments, their organizations. Very high focus on productivity, engagement, and profitability, the throughput, maximizing everybody's value, the individual value, the organization value. In that process, there are many organizations, agencies, governmental agencies, bureaus, research companies that provide a lot of data about what is going on in the market. Not everybody has time to read all those things, right? So it's they have their day-to-day operations, they have their daily challenges, managing their businesses, the staff, the suppliers and delivery of goods. So they don't look at what's going on in the market through time, and we want to do that for them. So our goal is to be like meteorologists, right? So we look at the outside, we identify the threats, like give you warnings, guide you through storms, help you be prepared for what's coming, and this is based on data, fully based on data. Regarding engagement itself, which is a very important ingredient in the production line, there are 28 aspects that we measure. Every time an individual and an organization have a high degree of alignment in terms of interests, values, and style, working style, when you see those 28 elements and you see very good matching, very good compatibility, the organization, the group produces well. It's competitive, it's efficient, there is very little noise, a lot of sound, very little noise. So we focus on this. We look at this as a reference.
I love that. Sound, but very little noise. Can you provide a reference or an example?
Yeah, one reference. I think it's we're coming out of a COVID, right? We had a period of a pandemic, and what happened during the pandemic is a lot of things that were thought to be true before the pandemic, it turned out not to be, right? So the technology, in terms of communication, in terms of prioritization, in terms of remote work, right? The facility you need to perform your job, the delivery of your work, all those things that in the beginning were a little hiccup, the setup of the environment, working from home or working remotely was a challenge for many people. They didn't have the right internet bandwidth, for example. Video conferencing, all those things, they were a challenge in the beginning. But then it started to be, people are adaptable, right? And we adapt very quick. So what happened is after that initial period, things start working again. And what happened was the business start to identify that productivity actually didn't go down. In some cases, yes, but the reason was not the remote work. It was the exposure of inefficiencies that happened anyway, right? Mismanagement, the misalignment in priorities, overhead, things that were already existed already but got exposed. And but actually, in many cases, it went up. Depending on the type, the nature of the work, the productivity went up because everybody saved commuting time. So what happened is everything that was done during those 3-4 years of the pandemic, the technology already existed. Nothing was created during the pandemic. It was just deployed. And the reason is that people, even with new technology, people always fall into old habits. Steve Jobs made a very good example of television. When television first came, it was a camera pointing to a person sitting in a desk, just like radio. And it was like that for years until they start moving around, they start creating different dynamics. Same thing happened to the internet. Same thing is happening to video conferencing. So people go back to old habits, and then slowly they start breaking up. Some people are back to office, right? Now we have this trend, back to office. It is a source of disengagement for a lot of people. Right? I'm in the middle of reading a report that was produced in 1944. It's a simple guide for sabotage. Right? It was produced in the US, and the goal was to give them to citizens in France, in Holland, in the occupied Belgium, in the occupied territories. And it's very simple, very small practices that will undermine the German ability to function, to be effective. It's amazing how many of those practices, without knowing the document, how many of those practices are today in corporate America, right? If you look at how we manage prioritization, communication, paperwork, if you read the document, I'm highlighting everything that I have done, right? Without knowing, I have done when 20 years ago or 15 years ago, the way we manage our businesses, it's amazing. It's like a self-sabotage, right? So we want to help with this. We want to help organizations identify those areas, open a little bit their minds, challenge their own paradigms, and with that, bring people along. So I have the Hollywood. If you look at Hollywood and how they work in terms of projects, right? There is a lot of debate about Gen Z, millennials. They don't want to work. They're lazy. They're this. They're that. In reality, they are far more aligned with a new way of working than the baby boomers, than Gen X, and most managers today. Um, they want to be engaged in activities that they value, they see a purpose. If you go to Los Angeles and you talk to a cameraman, you talk to a script writer, you talk to an editor, you talk to an artist, right? You talk to Tom Hanks, you talk to Tom Cruise, right? They pass projects. They don't do every movie that is pitched to them. Directors, right? So if you look at it, when a movie finishes, it like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of names going on. All these people, they're not employees of a certain organization, the Avengers, right? That's a project that for a period of time engages people, very focused. They know what they are doing. They know the reason they are doing, extremely profitable, right? It's an environment that is affected by technology. Right? The way they do movies, they produce a movie in 2024 is different than 1994, and is different than 1954 and 1924. So it evolves together with the technology. It adopts what is new, the techniques, everything. So I think that the businesses will eventually all become studios, right? I think that's the trend that we are seeing. The nature of engagements. Yesterday I spoke with a person that is in Japan, and he's going to Japan to help companies deal with the fact that the young people don't want to be corporate lawyers anymore. They don't that traditional Japanese idea of getting out of a college, getting out of a university, starting in a company and retiring that company, it's over, right? And they don't know how to deal with that.
Very interesting. So, what about continuous improvement? What can we do from a continuous improvement and the creation of a sustainable organization that can take these emerging trends and ride them out into the future? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, what happened is the world is not static, right? We even the continents are moving. We don't notice, but they are moving. So the market is always moving, right? Every quarter, the governments publish reports, employment reports. There are forecasts, 10-year forecasts in what roles will be in high demand, what roles are declining, which ones are growing, professions that are disappearing, professions that are emerging. Um, they say that people that are born in now, no, the people born in 2020, 24, will work in jobs that they were not even created. So you need to monitor what is happening, right? Um, there are a lot of references in articles and books about Kodak, right? What happened to Kodak? More recently, Nokia was a dominant company in the mobile industry. BlackBerry, in the corporate world, they all became irrelevant. I learned a couple of weeks ago that the German team decided to cut ties with Adidas, which is a very traditional German company, sports, producer sports goods, and sign with Nike, which is an American company. Right? So the key thing is how to be relevant and sustain that relevance with the market, with your clients, with the market, within your employees, how your employees can be relevant to you, and how you can, as an organization, can be relevant to your clients and still be competitive. So it's something that averting crisis, I think, is the key word here, right? Today is very similar to yesterday. right? Monday will likely be very similar to Friday, but December will be slightly different than January, right? 2027 will be different than 2024. Now, a lot different. So the speed, the pace is picking up, but it's not necessarily a crisis if you keep monitoring what is happening. Right? The person that prepares for the hurricane, it's better. It's has better chance to survive than the one that starts moving around when the wind is already blowing. Right? Oh, I need to put the shutters, or oh, we don't have water, and hey, do we have batteries? So the one that is reacting to the environment is likely to be done, to disappear, right? So history shows that. I think that is very important. Continuous improvement is a daily thing, and everything that becomes that you do daily becomes your habit. It's part of what the organization believes, what the organization practice, how the organization is perceived outside by recruiters, by clients, by the media, So it's important to have good habits. And I think part of those habits is to monitor what is happening in the market. You don't need to be a meteorologist. You're a farmer, for example, right? You don't need to know anything about meteorology. You don't need to understand the maps and the forecasting models that are created. You don't need to be an expert in weather. You need to be expert in the crops or the chicken or whatever you're producing, but you need to hear them when they speak, right? You need to know, okay, it's the wildfires in California, right? Tornadoes. You need to be aware of what's happening, and there are agencies that do this. So when we created Atlas, we wanted to be the weather channel for corporations in terms of the labor market, to help hire the right people, to help motivate them, to help guide them through productivity, to help remove the noise, remove overhead. Right? Those are things that just like happened in the pandemic. Right? In the beginning, there is a setup. It's not, you don't see immediate result in the first day or week. But when it becomes your habit, when you're doing this regularly, it becomes a strength.
Yeah, great point. Leaders need to remain vigilant in order to ensure that their organizations stay strategically sound. Like you said earlier when we were talking, companies can get laid off too. That Adidas situation is a great example of this. It'll be interesting to see what Adidas' next step is and where they land in the future. Also resonating is your point about the changes in generational workplace dynamics and preferences. As technology and business environments evolve, so must organizational cultures. If leaders plan to attract and fully harness the demographic preferences of the upcoming generations, they'll need to stay at least one step ahead in evolving culture to attract and to motivate the creative think tank that is actually capable of building those services and products of the future. And I think your reference to the Japanese shift away from that big business alignment and dedication more into startup and incubator creatives really emphasized that point, Mauricio. Yeah, well, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. It's been a joy talking with you, and we'd love to have you back in the future. Thanks so much, Mauricio.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Sterling Visionary Voices, Insights for Role Model Leadership from the Sterling Council. Discover more and connect with us at sterlingvisionaryvoices.com.